very warm welcome to all. In this video we'll be discussing about network address translation. Before doing the static NAT, dynamic NAT and port address translation, we'll do the initial lab setup. So this video will be discussing about the initial lab setup. So once we do this lab setup, then we'll save this file, then we'll start doing the static NAT, then again we'll take this file and we'll do the dynamic NAT, and we'll take the same file and we'll do the port address translation. So once you complete this topology, save this as a basic lab setup for network address translation. Every time we need not do dynamic NAT as well as our port PAT separately. Topology we need not build, so we'll build a topology and we'll save it as a basic lab setup. So we'll be doing basic lab setup for network address translation. Okay, so let us start building the topology. Let me take two routers of 1941. I'm taking again. I'm placing it on screen. 1941, two routers I'm taking. So I'll be taking two switches, and I'll take some four PCs. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 pieces I have taken, and I'll be taking some two servers. Okay, I'll take them two servers here. Okay, so I have taken some 4 PCs and 2 servers here. One more server I'll take. Okay, so 3 servers I'll taken. Now let me start connecting this with the cables. First I'll take a copper straight through cable to connect the PC to the switch with fast Ethernet 0/1. Again I'll take one more cable of copper straight through. I'll connect this PC with the switch. One more cable I'll connect it. So similarly you can connect it. So these are the basic things you can learn from the basic router configuration. Once you have learned all the steps, I need not explain you, but if you are doing it for the first time, you can do this, all these setups from the beginning I'm doing, so that you will be able to do it. If you have not seen the previous videos also, you can do this setup. So I'll take a copper straight through cable. So always remember, when you're connecting two different types of devices, we'll always use the copper straight through cable. From the switch to router, I'll be using a copper straight through cable. I'll be connecting a gigabit Ethernet port. So in this port I'm connecting always to gigabit Ethernet 0/0. Okay, so gigabit Ethernet 0/0. From this router 0 and router 1, I'll be connecting these routers. Say I'll rename this router as routers 1 and router 2. It will be always easy to call me router 1 and router 2 instead of calling router 0 and router 1. I'll make this as router 1, router 2. Okay, again we'll change the name of this router. We'll see why I am changing the name of the router for this. Okay, now I'll connect this routers. Before connecting it, I need to go to physical connection. I'll need to turn off this switch. Then I'll take some HWIC2T ports. Of 2 ports I'll take, so I'll be able to connect 4 serial ports. Then I'll close it, switch on this, close. Similarly go to the second router, turn off the switch, select HWIC2T of 2 modules, so you'll be having 4 slots, then turn on, close. So when we are adding those modules, we'll be able to have 4 serial ports to connect it. So I'll connect it with serial port 0 bar 0 bar 0 here, and in this side also again serial port 0 bar 0 bar 0. So I have connected everything. Let me first place a note of what type of network I'm going to use it. So here the network is 192.168.1.0 network. Similarly in this side it is 190, let me take it as 200.1.1.1 network. Okay, so accordingly I'll give the IP addresses. So it will be 192.168.1.1, and then so this one will be 192.168.1.2, and this will be 192.168.1.3, and this one will be 192.168.1.4. Similarly this will be 200.1.1.1, 200.1.1.2, and this will be 200.1.1.3. Okay, now for the router, the side I'll take it as 192 dot the same network 192.168.1.100, and this side let it be 192, sorry it is 200.1.1.100. fine. Now here let me take it like I'm taking some 100 dot network 100.1.1.1. Similarly here let me take it as 100.1.1.2. correct. Now I need to go inside my network, which devices, and assign the IP addresses. Let me complete that process also. So I'll go to this part, PC 0, desktop, IP configuration, it is 192.168.1.1. so mask we got it. So gateway, you know what is the gateway, 192.168.1.100, correct. So second PC, again it is 192.168.1.2 with the default gateway 192.168.1.100. Similarly for PC2 I'll go to desktop and do it. This 192.168.1.3, correct. So what is the gateway, 192.168.1.100. very good. The last PC also I'll do it, 192.168.1.4 I guess, 1.4. so gateway is 192.168.1.100. very good, we have completed. Similarly let me do this for this server also. For this server also 200.1.1.1 with a gateway of 200.1.1.100. I'll tell you why I have taken servers this side. Okay, 200.1.1.2, the gateway is 200.1.1.100, and this one is again it is 200.1.1.3, and the gateway is 200.1.1.100. very good, it is done. I have given the IP addresses configuration for PCs as well as servers I have given. Now let me configure the routers also. Okay, routers, before yes, routers. So this ports are gigabit 0 by 0 and these ports are serial 0 by 0 by 0, correct? So with that we'll be able to do the commands. So no, enter. Now it is in the user executive mode. Move on to privileged mode. Okay, from there I can go with the configuration mode. In the configuration mode I'll be able to change the name of the router. So host name is R1, I'm taking router 1. Okay, router name is changed now. After this I need to go with interface. So gigabit ethernet port 0 bar 0. What is the IP address? 192.168.1.100 and the mask is 255.0. Something I made, I didn't get IP address. IP address 192.168.1.100 followed by 255.255.0. Then no shutdown, this is very important, you need to give it. Then you can exit from this mode and you can give the IP address for the interface serial 0 bar 0 bar 0. Then IP address, what is the IP address? We'll see 100.1.network. Okay, so it is 100.1.1.1. so IP address 100.1.1.1 followed by the mask 255.255.0. then no shutdown. Exit over, right? Similarly I'll go to this one and I'll do it here. See, I'm not going to CLI commands, I'll do it in the configuration mode commands now. Okay, so that you'll be able to understand both. So gigabit ethernet port 0 bar 0, what is the IP address for this one? 200.1.1.100 followed by the mask. Okay, then I should turn on. See the same commands we can able to see here. Okay, similarly serial port 0 bar 0 bar 0, it is IP configuration is 100.1.1.2. okay, see subnet mask is 255 0 bar 0 bar 0. There we have made mistake, we need to change that subnet mask. So turn on, then we'll close it. So we'll go to this switch. Okay, we'll go to that configuration. What is that serial port we have given? It is 255.255.255. okay, it has been changed now. That's all. Now we can see that both are in up. Okay, both ports are up. Similarly here both the ports are up. That's all. So now I have not changed the name of the now we are able to see, right? Yes, fine. Now we are not changed the name of the router. Okay, see, it is not R2. What is the main concept with the network address translation? Now I'll explain. See, we have some server 0, 1, 2. I'll assume that this server belongs to, this is nothing but google.com. When you type google.com, this server will open. Similarly, when you type Yahoo, it will open this server. Similarly, if you type Facebook, this is the server for Facebook. Okay, so this is the Google server and this is your Yahoo server, and this is your Facebook server. Now what is the main concept is, see, we have assigned many private addresses for this. This is our network. Okay, for example, this is our New Horizon College of Engineering. Let me take it as New Horizon College of Engineering, some example. Okay, this is your New Horizon College of Engineering, Bangalore. Okay, we are having some n number of private IP addresses assigned for this. Okay, now we need to fetch this server. For example, if 192.168.1.1 need to search for google.com, it has to go to the router 1. From the router 1, it has to be given to the internet service providers network. The internet service provider will give us the public IP address. From that public IP address only we will be able to locate where the google.com is. Correct? So this, see here, I am not using the internet services. So instead of that, I am going to configure this router 2 as my internet service provider. I am going to assume that R2 is my internet service provider. Accordingly, I will make a routing. Then I will be able to do static routing or port address translation or dynamic routing, and show you how the configuration will be done. So this router is not going to be R2 router. It is going to be the ISP router. Internet service provider router will assume that this router is not with us, it is with the internet service provider. So it will be with the internet service provider. This ISP router will give a public address for 192.168.1.1 and 1.2, 1.3, 1.4. Okay, so via those public IP addresses only we will be able to communicate to the outside world. Correct? So now if you see, I'll try to transmit. I have given all the IP addresses for the routers and the switches, the routers and the servers, PCs, everything. I'll try to send a packet from PC0 to server. It is failed. Similarly, I'll try to send a packet from PC1 to server. It is again failed. Why? I have not given any sort of routing. Now what I am going to do is that I am going to give a default. I am going to give a default routing. You might have studied the concept of static routing and the default routing. Okay, so from the private network, end of the private network, if I need to connect it to the outside world, I need to connect it through default routing. Clear? Whereas internet service provider will use a static routing. Okay, via the static routing, the internet service provider will give us a public IP address. So I need to configure this router with static routing, and I need to configure this router with the default routing. Correct? So let me go to this router and assign the default routing. You people are aware of the default routing. If not, please go and check out the default routing concepts and come back again. Okay, so default routing, I'll give the default routing now. Exit from this mode, and then what is the condition? IP route, correct, 0.0.0.0, then followed by 0.0.0.0, and then I'll give the next hop IP address. What is my next hop? 100.1.1.2. So that's all. I have assigned the default routing for the R1, and I'm going to assign the IP address. I'm going to assign the static routing here. Okay, static routing. For that, the condition is IP route. See here, I'm going to use a public IP addresses of 50.1.1.0. So I'm going to use the internet service provider is going to provide a series of 50.1.1. series to translate all these IP address, private IP addresses. So I'm taking it as 50.1.1.0. Okay, then what is subnet mask of the destination? 255.255.255.0. I can take any just one. And then what is my next hop? 100.1.1.1. Okay, enter. Okay, that's all. see now I'll go to this router and see what is the configuration I have done. Exit. Okay, then IP show route. Sorry, show IP route. Yes, show IP route. Now you can see here 192.168.1. network is connected. Similarly, 192.168.1.100 network is also connected. Now you can see that 0.0.0 network is connected via 100.1.1.2. So this default routing is open to be connected to the public IP address. Similarly, I'll go to this ISP router. I'll use some. So I have not changed the host name. I'll change the host name as ISP. Okay. Host name ISP. Yes, it has been done. Host name has been changed here. Now this host name, what I can do, it has been changed to ISP. Now I'll exit from this mode. Okay, show IP route. See here, you can see here 50.1.0 network is ready to be connected to the 100.1.1.1 network. So we are ready to give a static IP addresses. Okay, now this is the lab setup we have done for the network address translation. Okay, so up to this step, for all the methods, okay, either it may be static NAT or it may be dynamic NAT or it may be port address translation, it is going to be same. Okay, you can do this one and then you can save this as basic lab setup. Okay, I'll save with lab setup for today. Okay, I've saved this as basic lab setup. Okay, then now from next video we'll be seeing about how to do the static NAT. From this place we'll start doing the static NAT. Before that, let me show whether packets are flowing from the PC3 to any server or any other things is happening. So if I'll take PC3 to server, it is failed. Okay, I'll take some PC1 to server, it is failed, which means that though I have assigned the default routing here and static routing here, okay, I have not translated my private IP addresses to public IP addresses, because this internet service provider will be able to know only about the public IP addresses. So that we'll see in the next video.